Appropriations and Budget Committees, and this is his second time testifying at the Member Day. So welcome back.
Mr. Chairman and fellow committee members, I'd like to start by thanking you for the chance to speak on behalf of the people of my district during this member session on 4 key ideas, and I'll be brief on each of those. First is wasteful spending. I'm sure that we can all agree that one of the former administration's most troublesome traits was finding new ways to waste taxpayer money. One prime example is the direct file program by the Internal Revenue Service. In 2024, the IRS spent over $24 million launching the direct file tax preparation program, which has less than 1% use rate. This year, the IRS is spending millions more to relaunch that program. Last week, Representative Adrian Smith and I, and thank you, Representative Smith, the Fair Preparation Act, which would prohibit the IRS from implementing the direct file program or any other similar tax preparation program. Simply put, the IRS should not be both tax preparer and tax auditor for the American people. Shifting gears, last year I spoke to this committee about an issue plaguing our nation's unemployment system. Federal law requires that Americans on unemployment search for and accept work, but it does not require that they interview for a job when offered, which is arguably the most important part of a job search. We must protect the integrity of our unemployment system, and that's why I introduced the Unemployment Integrity Act last Congress, and I plan to do so again this year. The Unemployment Integrity Act makes showing up to an interview a mandatory part of the job search, and it strengthens audit requirements to protect against further abuse of our unemployment system. This is a simple, common-sense way to protect against fraud and to return dignity to our unemployment system. Last year, I also spoke to you about difficulties communities face getting environmentally contaminated sites called brownfields and Superfund sites developed. To address this issue and to spark economic development in historically untouched areas, I introduced the Economic Opportunity for Distressed Communities Act. This act would designate hazardous waste sites as opportunity zones, encouraging cleanup, development, and revitalization of areas that may otherwise sit contaminated for decades to come. This act is a must and a very simple modification to the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act of 2017. Finally, last September, my district was ravaged by Hurricane Helene. Water crested as high as 40 feet in some areas of North Carolina's mountains, and recovery continues to be a challenge. One solution that I'm urging this committee to consider is designating disaster-declared areas from Hurricane Helene as opportunity zones, as was done in 2005 in the Gulf Opportunity Zone Act. While the GO Zone Act of 2005 is markedly different than the current Opportunity Zone program that we know today, I believe that the Western North Carolina mountains, who is occupied by hard-working folks and were uprooted by Helene, and deserve the same important investments as communities affected by Hurricanes Katrina, Rita, and Wilma in the early 2000s. I'm currently working on legislation in this area, and I ask you to work with me to ensure Western North Carolina has access to every available resource to recover from the devastation of Hurricane Helene. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Edwards. I now recognize Representative Wesley Hunt, the gentleman from Texas.